South Australian Sports Show. Well, time to turn our attention to cricket, and we're not talking about the Poms in Australia at the moment, mate. We are talking about what's happening at the Southern Districts Cricket Club, because they have signed a man, Baz, that has played a fair whack of cricket for the West Indies. Just a quick overview of Carl Hooper. Carl, thanks for coming in, mate. Appreciate your time. And of course, the Prez is in as well. Grant Lovelock. Sorry, Grant, had trouble getting that out, mate. Let's start with you, Carl. You've been in Australia 23 years, mate, back and forth a little bit the last 3 or 4 years here. Why the Southern Districts Cricket Club?
Well, why not?
I'll give you a lot of reasons, but not on here.
No, I first met with a guy called Chris Harms. I don't know if you know Chris Harms. Yes. Yeah. And we had a chat, and he sort of presented the opportunity to me, and it sounded good. You know, Southern District is probably not recognized as one of the top clubs. It's not your Kensies or your Woodville, but I think they're going places. I think this year there've been a lot of measures put in place to try and lift the club, and I thought it was a good opportunity to get involved.
You know, Grant, I've got to ask you this, because I talked to the Southern Footy League a little bit about this very thing. The area you've got down there, your zone and whatever, I've always thought that you should be a lot stronger than what you are. I've always thought that, you know, that's a huge area down that way for juniors, for new folks in the area. The whole thing is so big down there. Yeah. South Adelaide struggled to get players there, football players there for years and years and years. Yeah. People would prefer to come downtown and play. Do you have a similar issue with players, say going down to Adelaide or Sturt or Glenelg or whatever?
Our zone is the outer southern zone, and our country zone is the Fluoro Peninsula. So we've got a lot of access to players playing cricket, and the beauty of our club is that we have a women's and a men's program. So we are the pathway for...
The only pathway?
The only pathway for boys and girls, men and women that play cricket to play. We offer the pathway to play at the Premier Cricket level, which will then hopefully lead on to state representation and Australian representation. Participation is good in the inner southern and down on the Fluoro Peninsula. But if you just take a drive down there with the expressway opening up, you'll see the growth of population around Seaford, McLaren Vale, those areas, and there's increase in population, and hopefully that will lead to increase in participation into playing cricket. So, you know, we look forward to work with our governing body, SACA, and our local councils to look at ground space and availability, because if we can get the facilities and the environment right, we will, you know, that will lead on to increased participation in the game.
And having a guy like Carl there, who is obviously a first-class player of some note, that's got to help. It
does. One of the strategies we've got is to lift the profile of our club within the Premier Cricket scene. Carl, obviously, you know, legend of the game. He's bringing a lot of his own experience to our club, and obviously following that is interest to join our club and play cricket at Premier Cricket level. Yeah.
He's not playing though, is he?
No, he's not playing. He's not playing. Unfortunately, not.
If I could have mentioned though, I mean, I've only been at the club now. We started pre-season about 5 weeks ago. But like, as I mentioned, the first person that I met was Chris Harms, and then after that I met with Grant and another lady called Rosa Miller. But I mean, Grant has done, I think this is his first year being the president for Southern District, and he's done some fantastic work just in helping with the recruitment of players, making sure everything is in place. So it's been easy for me. And I think, you know, just looking forward for the summer. Can't wait to get it started. You know, we've managed to assemble a real good bunch of cricketers from all over, and some good local players too.
Which is what you need, Carl.
Which is what you need. Yeah, exactly. But we've got a couple of kids coming out from my neck of the woods. Some coming from the UK. We've got 3 Nepalese.
I saw that. I saw the recruiting. It's actually rather extensive. The players you've got recruited.
Yeah, and we've got a player, Sunam Gautam, who was playing in Victoria last year. He made the Victorian Team of the Year.
Yeah.
He's a right-hand batsman, right-arm off-spinner. Really exciting that, you know, for our club to get a high-profile recruit like Sunam to the club. We've got players coming from the UK, as Carl said. Lewis Hatchett, who used to play for Sussex. He'll be coming over in a development coaching role, but also be playing.
Yeah.
And we've got Kirsten Calataran coming from Trinidad, who's played in the West Indies under-19
There's
team.
a name.
Yeah.
Calataran. Hey, there's a name.
So it's exciting, you know.
Absolutely.
And with that excitement, we're seeing some past players come back to the club.
Yeah.
And that's the environment that we want. And you know, it's really important for our club to have that positive environment.
There's one player I've got to ask you about that left the club a few years ago, who I saw as a junior and I thought was the best kid that I'd ever seen. He's the best kid without a shadow of a doubt. Should play for Australia. He's that good a player.
Yep.
Was Joel Garrett,
Yep.
who played at Southern Districts and then ended up at Glenelg, nearly ended up at Port Adelaide. And I thought, wow, that is a big loss to Southern Districts. I don't know what happened there, but he's not playing cricket anymore, that kid. And he would be 26, 27 now, that's all he'd be. But he was quite seriously one of the best kids that I ever saw. Well, I know he is not one of the best, he is the best. And I saw quite a few go through the academy.
Yeah.
Gun player.
And it's really important for our club to make sure that we offer the programs that will lead to increased skill development, that will provide the great, you know, the proper environment to play cricket in.
Yeah.
One of our challenges is obviously cricket infrastructure.
Yeah.
We do have, you know, there are cricketers from our country zone that do drive past our oval and go down to the metropolitan area. Strategy for our club is to try and understand why they're doing that and address that issue.
Yeah.
And focus on facilities, coaching, and creating that positive club environment.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, Carl, for you, a bit of time at Kent, bit of time at Lancashire. Obviously, super player with the West Indies. You've got some records that will probably never be surpassed, both in the one-dayers and in Test cricket. You gather an enormous amount of knowledge when you travel around the world. Now you come into a program that's probably really in its infancy. Where do you start?
Oh, well, the thing about it is you got to probably try and find the right balance. One of the difficulties that I had when I probably went to Woodville the first year is trying to meet players halfway. You've got blokes who haven't got an interest in playing at a higher level, so they're good enough to play at the district level. Got a 9-to-5 job and that's it. And then you've got the younger kid who's now sort of trying to push through. So you've got, and I mean, since an early age, this is all that I know.
Yeah.
You know, I've done this sport for 17 years for a living. So sometimes I find it difficult to comprehend when a bloke would come to me and say, look, I've got a wedding.
Yeah.
Or I've got to take the wife or whatever. And I say, you know.
Do the lawns.
So that was difficult for me to accept, but eventually you find the right balance where you know how to work with a player who is good enough to play on the weekends but doesn't want to go any further. You try to get the best out of him and try and create the environment and that the younger player there can flourish.
Yeah.
So I think I'm better prepared for Southern Districts. And like I said, I've had a lot of help. You know, we've just got some superb volunteers, if you can call them that. So I'm looking forward to the summer.
You know, the dangerous thing about coaching, Carl, and you've been around a while, is the expectation that things happen quicker than they can. I guess it's a little bit directed at you, Grant, and your group on what the real expectation is on someone like Carl to come in and get your program to where you'd like it to be. Do you see that being 3 years, 5 years, or do you have an idea in your head on, or are you just happy seeing, as long as we're seeing progress, we're happy?
I think what I'd like to see at the club in all areas, the women's cricket, the junior boys, the senior men's, is continuous improvement.
Yeah.
And
Great answer.
and that's what I'm after.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, it's about managing expectations as well, as you alluded to. You know, you can't. It's very difficult to go from, you know, a club that hasn't been so competitive to actually make them very competitive. I want to have a club, and with Carl's expertise, to have the attitude that every game that we're going to play, we expect to win. And that's what I want to see, and that's the environment that I want to create. But it's continuous improvement.
Carl, one very quick one, mate, before you go. The teams that you played in with the West Indies, that's a powerful team. Who are the players you played with? Some of the
I started on
top
the
order.
yeah. I started on the Viv Richards, as you would know. We had Greenwich and Haynes,
Yeah,
and then we had Richardson at 3.
yeah,
We had Logie.
yeah.
Dujon was there. I played. Who else was there?
Some ordinary players there.
Yeah, did you play
Brian-
with any good players?
Well, Brian and I were the younger players. I started before Brian. He came in, I think, 2 tours later. I played 1 series with Garner.
Big Joe, yeah.
I never had a chance to play with Michael Holding, which I regret to this day. Because of somebody that I admired as a
Great
young
team,
player
yeah.
coming through. But
Yeah.
your Ambrose and Walsh and Patrick Patterson. I don't know if you heard of Patrick Patterson.
Oh,
All these
yeah,
guys, I
yeah,
played the
don't worry,
bulk
mate.
of my career with.
Yeah.
But good times. But as you can see now, we're sort of been in the doldrums for a while.
Coming back.
Getting stronger,
Back.
getting stronger.
Well, not judging from the results from the last season, we folded for what we were. Got bowled out in the second innings a couple of days ago for 100.
Yeah, saw that.
And this is at home, so really disappointing. We were disappointing in the World Cup after making a strong start.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know.
And what's been said about the islands, though? If you're from a particular island, he's from another island.
Well,
It doesn't sort of.
It's always
gel.
been there. It's always been there. There've always been issues, and people might be thinking like right now there are 7 or 8 Barbadians,
Yeah.
I think 7 Barbadians
In
a
the
squad
current
of
team?
yeah,
Yeah.
squad of 11,
Yeah.
and you will always have the talk, why so many Barbadians and not a couple more Jamaicans or a couple. I mean, just to present an argument, Guyana has been dominating the first class competitions there for the last 4 or 5 seasons.
Yeah.
And we've only got 1 player in the West Indies team, so.
And what is that, politics?
No, I don't think it is. I don't think it's politics. I think, you pick the best players that are available.
So you've got so this team now, you're saying is the best current?
I think so,
Yeah?
yeah.
Okay.
Just need to play together for a while.
I just think it's the
Yeah,
best
no,
team
they're
that
a
they've
pretty good
picked,
side now. They're not too bad. They've got a good attack. They probably just need a bit, as you say, getting bowled out for 100 a couple of weeks ago. Although England got bowled out for 67, mate, and won the test.
No, but the problem with us back in the Caribbean, I think, is because of a first-class system, you can't make an accurate assessment of a player, whether he's good enough for the next level or not.
Yeah.
Is that we pick players, and then after 2 games, they don't score any runs or don't get any wickets, and you start second-guessing yourself as a selector.
Yeah.
You want to drop them because you're not sure.
Yeah, sure.
Whereas when I came through or back, sort of 15, 20 years ago, when a player was selected for the West Indies, you know that he was tested.
Yeah.
You see, because the first-class system was of a very, fairly high standard.
standard,
but today it's not. I mean,
Okay.
our wickets are slow. They turn a lot. So.
Hey, Carl, I'm interested, just quickly, you said you didn't get a chance to play with Holding, which you would have liked to have done. All I'm thinking when you're saying that is, I wouldn't have liked to have faced him in the nets when he was getting ready to play whoever you were playing against.
mate,
Did you have to face him in the nets? Did you face him?
I never faced him in the nets.
No,
But,
see, I'm thinking that's the advantage. That's what I'm saying.
No, there was another guy there, though. My room with a guy, and I'm sure I can say this now. There was a guy called Patrick Patterson that I roomed with. This is the days when you used to room. You had a roommate. Now
Yep.
today you don't. You have
Yep.
a single room. But I roomed with him. We came on a tour to Australia, I think, in '92, and he's Jamaican, and I do not think, you know what I'm going to say, right?
Yeah,
I do not think there was one day that he didn't walk through the door and he wasn't high. I mean, if you came to the room at 6, it was like a nightclub. I mean, it smoked, and he was just smoking weed, and he was quick.
Yeah.
So imagine a bloke high
Yeah,
And quick.
and quick. And I used to sit and I used to watch in the nets. I mean, he used to let us have it,
in the nets.
One day I could remember the manager asked him to bat. He said, Patrick, you pat up. You go and pat up. And I've never seen so many of the batsmen run for new balls. Everybody wanted a piece of it, but then he said, oh no, he said, look, I'll take my chances in the middle. But he used to be high every day.
Yeah.
But this is the day when, there were no, this is before 9/11 and you had all these, sniffer dogs and so on. So we used to stroll through with all this. He had big bag of weed in his kit bag. As soon as you get to the room, he said, Hoops. He used to say, Hoops, just damn the towel and put it under the door so the smoke doesn't go down the lobby.
Oh,
And down the corridor, and he would smoke up, man.
That'd be very
It's
popular
crazy.
in customs now, wouldn't
Crazy.
it?
No, he was lethal, though. He was lethal.
Hey,
But
Carl,
he
we
was
wish you
quick.
all the best with the Southern
Yeah, good
Districts,
luck,
mate.
mate.
3
Good luck,
months
mate.
into the gig, high performance, we'll watch with interest. Well done on getting a guy of this calibre to your
you.
club, mate. Fantastic. Stay with us. Still a little bit more to come.